If you're just coming on, go ahead and put your questions, your burning questions you have for me for ADHD. Go ahead and put that in the chat. Also, I just like to know usually where everyone's coming from. Go ahead and put that in chat, where you're coming from, and what questions you have for me specifically. Before we dive in, as you guys are putting your questions in the chat, just a reminder, if you are new here, I'm Dr. LeGrand, and I have ADHD and dyslexia and help people with ADHD. And I give lots of tips and tricks. That's what this channel is all about, is helping you with any of your challenges with ADHD and also ways to optimize your brain. So if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any other future videos. So also just go ahead and just put your questions in the chat. Sorry, got an alarm that went just off. I think we should be good there. So, but yeah, let me know, you guys, where you're coming from. Let's see here. Just need to make sure. Can you hear me? And also, yeah, can you hear me? Hear me and see me. I just do this all the time because I feel like there's always something that happens technically. Okay, we got time waits 4901. Yeah, go ahead and put your questions that you have for me. I want to just kind of talk about just, okay, it looks like, yep, yes, you can hear me, see me, good. Always good to just kind of check. So go ahead and put your questions that you have for me in the chat. I know there's like a little bit of a delay always with these live streams, so I'm just someone that's impatient. And yes, I am hydrating this time. Didn't forget my water bottle this time. So go ahead, put your questions that you have for me as people are just coming on. You know, typical questions I usually get is, you know, what am I currently doing as far as the supplement I'm taking for my ADHD? So the big ones right now, I'm experimenting with ginkgo biloba Max V. It's just a higher dose of ginkgo biloba. I really do like ginkgo biloba, so I'm doing that for a 30-day challenge. So look out for that video that will come out in my review on that. I do still continue taking adrenal desiccated because of my cortisol levels being more low. Helps with energy, helps with my mental focus as well. So I do like that one. L-theanine is another big one that I do like taking. Typically, I will take about use about 200 to sometimes 400 milligrams twice a day, just depending on how I feel. But that usually helps a lot with my mental clarity and just kind of with dealing with stress. So those are some big ones there. But if you guys are just coming on, go ahead and put your questions in the chat. And then another one that I want, we're in the winter months, so vitamin D3, but I first want to test my vitamin D levels before starting to test it out so I can kind of show you guys before and after when you do have low vitamin D levels of what you could do specifically, the dosages, and how much it can actually impact, especially for your ADHD. Definitely when you have low vitamin D levels, especially like me who lives in Northwest and live in a cave down in the basement in my house. You know, typically I'm not getting as much sunlight, especially in the winter months. So I'm curious of what my vitamin D levels look like. I just need to take the time to go and get that done before I start taking it. So I have a good before and after take. All right. First question here. Or not a question. Yeah, if you guys are coming on, just please put your questions in the chat. Hi, I'm from Belgium. Wow, 22 years guy who have ADHD. I like watching your videos. Well, thank you for watching my videos. Appreciate it. All the way from Belgium. Here's a question here. I just bought L-theanine and currently take ashwagandha before bed. Did you have a specific question about that? But yeah, L-theanine is great. Ashwagandha can be really helpful too. Especially before bed, especially if your cortisol levels tend to be really high at night. Ashwagandha is great to take before bed. Something really good to do. You know, my experience, because my cortisol levels tend to be low, we're like pretty much low in the morning, during the day, even somewhat at night. Well, actually, they weren't too bad at night, but my experience was different. If you guys have seen that video, a lot of people have seen that video. It's probably my most popular video is the ashwagandha 30 days. It's pretty controversial because people love ashwagandha. And I was just showing, a lot of people think I was using it as an advertisement. There was no advertisement for this video. It was just me doing some tests on myself, and I wanted to see if the tests were even accurate. Cortisol, so I was just curious for myself, even though I knew I didn't need to take it, but I was just curious if there would be a negative side effect of taking something like ashwagandha, even though I already have low cortisol levels, when ashwagandha does decrease your cortisol levels. And sure enough, yeah, my experience wasn't the best, but I might redo it. But I want to do some more documentary style type of videos for you guys where I can interview maybe some other doctors and stuff like that that have a little bit more expertise in some areas. Like, for example, Ayurvedic medicine. I don't have very much training in Ayurvedic medicine at all. I'm an naturopathic doctor, so I have a lot of training in other Eastern medicine modalities, but a lot of the Western herbs. So that's where I have my extensive training is stuff in the Western herbs, not necessarily Ayurvedic or Indian herbs. So I do have some training on it, but not to the extent of like an Ayurvedic doctor would. So a lot of people have commented a lot on that video about that. And it's like, look, I was just experimenting on it. A lot of people said that you should take it in powder form, so maybe I'll experiment with powder form. But I probably just want to meet up with an Ayurvedic doctor and see what his opinion is, especially around the cortisol stuff. That's where my big concern is doing testing. As you guys know, I like doing testing first before taking really anything. And unless there's really no test, for example, like something like ginkgo biloba, there's nothing like you could really per se test for, just that it helps, with focus. And definitely with memory recall. Okay, Romaine, question here. Ask the question. I tried 5-HTP 75 milligrams at night, but I felt weird after 1 hour. You think I need to try it again? So, explain to me weird. You know, 5-HTP, you got to be careful with, especially with taking medications. 5-HTP is going to be definitely the one that interacts the most out of like pretty much all supplements. That'll interact the most with ADHD medications, especially stimulant medications. That's what I've seen in the research. When I'm looking for drug herb interaction or even supplements, 5-HTP is probably the biggest when it comes to ADHD medications. So that would, yeah, be careful with. Something you should probably definitely consult with your prescribing doctor if you are taking medications. That one for sure. Definitely be consulting as far as dosages, when you should take it, and if you even really need to take it in the first place. So what I do with my patients and clients is we will test first, look at the neurotransmitters, see if taking something like 5-HTP is really necessary. And this has to do a lot with typically if you have like low serotonin levels. So if you have low serotonin levels, then yeah, 5-HTP can be very beneficial because 5-HTP helps build serotonin levels. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, the problem is 5-HTP, let's say your serotonin levels are fine and your dopamine levels are low. It actually can, over time, by taking high doses of 5-HTP, it can also bring your dopamine levels down. So that's something to keep in mind. You have to like balance out your neurotransmitters. That's why it's good to look at all the different amino acids and neurotransmitters that we do test for. So if you guys are curious more about that, you could actually book a free discovery call with my team. All you got to do is just click the link in the description below to book that discovery call with our head coach, Jake, and he will tell you more about our services and how I can help you and see if we would be a good fit for you. Also, if you haven't already, I do have a free guide in the description below. It's a full in-depth guide, an ADHD guide that you can download, as well as a free ADHD training. So check that out if you have not already. All right. So hope that answers your question, Romaine. You mentioned that you have stomach aches and nausea. Okay, with it. So it might be too high of a dose, but again, if you're having stomach aches, nausea with it, it's something just can be definitely mindful. If you haven't looped in your doctor about it, I would, especially if you're on medications. Another question here. All right. I know there's other people on here on the chat. Romaine's asking all the questions. So please, others who are on here in the live stream, please ask your questions for me that you can put in the chat. But this one, Romaine asks, how can we naturally know if we high or low at dopamine serotonin? You just test for them. Honestly, I mean, certainly you can kind of have suspicions whether you do. I mean, that's what they do with ADHD, whether you have low dopamine and or epinephrine levels. And we know that to be more of our motivation, drive, willpower, things like that. We might assume that we might have low dopamine levels or have a so serotonin. Usually, typically, it's going to be you're going to feel more depressed, can't get out of bed in the morning, things like that, because serotonin having high serotonin levels is going to make you feel more happy. Uh, you know, and not dealing with that. So if you want to go based off of just a questionnaire, that is, but otherwise, yeah, you can just test for it. So that's what we do. So if you are curious more about that, of how we do test for it and what we particularly do for helping people with HD, again, in the description below, you can click on and book a free discovery call with us. It's just in the description below. Okay. Come on. Is Romaine the only one that has questions for me? Go ahead and put in the chat just the questions you have for me specifically on ADHD or in general health. I mean, if you have any other like general health topics, like I, you know, in the past have ran my own family practice where I've helped, women with hormone imbalances, thyroid issues, both men and females, and also digestive issues extensively, hypertension, as well as diabetes. So, all right. Here we go. Really good question here from wait, we already did that one. This one from I love maths '07. Is it common for someone having ADHD to suffer from panic attacks as well? Yes, it is very common. I'm glad to bring this question up. In fact, there's been studies that show that people with ADHD, about 50% or more people with ADHD will also have anxiety. And with that, also panic attacks. So people who have a chronic issue with anxiety can deal with panic attacks. So for me, I dealt with this more in my college years with my ADHD. Well, even before actually just my younger years. Like, so even in high school and even in middle school as a young kid, dealt with anxiety. A lot of it had to deal a lot with just the academic challenges that I dealt with ADHD and dyslexia, and would have sometimes panic attacks within taking a test. So I definitely had extreme test anxiety. It was really hard. I had to deal with a lot of ways and tactics to bring to definitely calm myself down. And I had to do that through this breathing exercises and just overly train. So I felt really prepared before a test, but sometimes that wouldn't do it. But usually a lot of breathing exercises. And then, of course, a lot of different just working on and doing exercise, eating right, supplementation sometimes, would help. And those are things that I would have to do to help manage it. But yes, it is very common. I see this a lot. I not only does a study show it, I see it within my own patients and clients that probably about 50 plus. I would even say like probably 60% patients and clients that I work with that have ADHD also have anxiety, have high stress. So definitely very common. See, we got some more people coming on. If you're just coming on, go ahead and put your questions in the chat for me on anything on ADHD or health topics that you have specifically for me. Okay. Mario Fox asked a question: Who takes which nootropics? So you're asking which nootropics? Well, I can tell you what I take. People in the chat can put also what they do take. If you guys want to answer Mario Fox's question, what type of nootropics do you take? The ones I currently take right now, I just shared at the beginning, but I'll share it again. L-theanine is a big one that I take. D-L-phenylalanine, I think my ball is down there, that I do take. Right now, I'm currently experiencing with ginkgo biloba Max V, so I'll be reviewing that for you guys after taking it for 30 days. And then also another big one that I took is B complex. So that's a really huge one that I do highly recommend a lot for people with HD. We tend to be low in a lot of different B vitamins. And so taking a complex that are more the activated form B vitamins is going to be big ones. So those are like some of the big ones. There's definitely a lot out there, but those are ones that I'm currently taking and some that I do recommend quite a bit. Okay. Other questions coming in. Good. This is good. Got lots of questions coming in now. Romaine says, I take phenylpiracetam, but don't really feel it. I don't know why. Yeah, I mean, sometimes each supplement, just because it works for somebody else, doesn't mean it's going to necessarily work for you. And this is why I think testing is important. Now, with the piracetam and all the racetams, all those different ones, I still don't have a strong opinion about it just because it's something kind of new on the market. And it's also just like, it's not natural. It's something that's just a microdose of, at least to my, that's more of a synthetic thing that help with stimulants, which people find beneficial. Obviously, it's not something that's super strong. So people like to go that route instead of having to go the full blown medications. But again, I put it in a totally different category than natural supplements. Okay, good. We got questions coming in. I like this. Keep bringing them. We got. I love baths. Says, what about irregular sleep patterns? Feeling very sleepy randomly at any time of the day, not able to get a job or go to uni because of this. So yes, irregular sleep patterns are very common with people with ADHD. In fact, I'd say it's one of the more contributing factors of ADHD issues for sure, because if you're not getting good quality sleep, that's going to obviously interrupt your mental energy, but also your physical energy, as well as your mood and your capacity of having that clarity mind and just focus throughout the day when you're not getting good quality of sleep. So things that are really important to look at this, like if you are really having bad sleep, consistently and you can't fall asleep or stay asleep and you've tried different supplements and that hasn't helped, definitely do a sleep study. Um, Push your doctors to do a sleep study on you because it could be sleep apnea. Just because you don't snore at night and stuff like that doesn't mean you do not have sleep apnea. It doesn't rule that out. And sleep apnea is, not only does it really mess up with your sleep, but it also is something that's really dangerous when it comes to your heart health. And it's something that definitely should be checked. So I definitely highly recommend doing a sleep study, but they could also look at patterns of where the issues are. So it might be because you're ruminating too much at night. So other good techniques are things like light therapy. Light therapy is probably one of the, probably the biggest ones I would say that can be really effective for resetting your circadian rhythm. Melatonin can be helpful, but it doesn't work for everybody, and it's only, I would say, for temporary purposes to help you fall asleep. So if that's your issue of not able to fall asleep, melatonin can help with that. But if you have an issue with staying asleep, definitely doing light therapy. But also you could do something like L-tryptophan that can help you stay asleep. Typically, that's what's going to help you stay asleep. And then, of course, working with good sleep hygiene, ergonomics, making sure you have no screen time 2 to 3 hours before bed, as well as keeping your lights down. Not eating late at night is some other big ones that can be beneficial. Now, if you're waking up at 3, 4 in the morning every day, it's what we call liver gallbladder time. It's what they call in Chinese medicine. So it might be some digestive issues that you need to work on with your liver and gallbladder. So there's lots and lots of ways that I work with my patients and clients by looking at specifically, okay, what look at you as a whole. What could be contributing to definitely your sleep issues. This is where we run a lot of extensive testing as well. So it isn't just looking at ADHD stuff; it's also looking at your body as a whole. So I like running lots of extensive testing, and this is what we do. Once you've you can book that free discovery call, find out more about our services, see if we'd be a good fit, and then you typically book a consultation with me after talking to our head coach to see if we'd be a good fit, and then we go from there, looking at possibilities of different testing, that extensive testing that we would need to do. So, but really good question. All right, good. I love this. Lots of questions coming in. I do have a hard stop at 11:30, so I got 12 more minutes. I can answer questions. It's kind of has to be a little short today. But so if you guys are new here, subscribe, do these live streams. I'm going to be doing these on a regular basis. I'm going to try to do these like at least 3 days out a week. So our next one is going to be, it looks like we have a little better attendance at this time. Before we've had like 6 or 8. Now we have like about 11 today. So I'm going to probably maybe stick to 11 o'clocks for at least for now. I'm still experimenting, but just bear with me with these live streams and what times I'm going to do them. So Wednesday, I'm probably going to do the 11. I'll just say it now. We'll do the 11 o'clock 11 p.m. Sorry, can't speak today. 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It will be our next one on Wednesday, and that will be a more in-depth training. So I'll do a little more in-depth training. I'll still do some Q&A, but usually once a week, I want to do at least an in-depth training for you guys on that. So if you have anything if you guys have any recommendations for any in-depth training that you would like me to cover on those Wednesday calls, then let me know in the chat. Okay, let's go to the next questions. Mario Fox asked question. I take Gotacola, Ginkgo biloba, Shaka pushpi, and Bacopa. Yeah, all those are great. I'm actually not familiar, I think, of Shaka pushpi. Is that an Indian herb? No, I'm probably pronouncing it right, but I'm familiar with Gotacola. That is a Western herb that's really great for anxiety. It's an anxiolytic. Ginkgo biloba, great. I told you I'm actually testing that one right now. And then Bacopa is something simpler. Bacopa manir, very similar to Ginkgo biloba, has a lot of similar properties as far as helping with memory recall and can help with focus. But Ginkgo biloba increases blood flow to the brain. And then Gotacola is an anxiolytic, meaning that it helps a lot with anxiety. Okay. Romaine asked question, why is Ritalin so popular? I really don't like the effects with irritability. So, with any stimulant medication, why it's so popular? I mean, obviously Ritalin and Adderall are probably the two biggest popular ones that usually most doctors will have you start off with because it's a stimulant and because a good majority of people tend to have low dopamine and norepinephrine levels. And so that's why it usually will be the first go-to and why it's so popular because a lot of people tend to do good on it. But again, I would say probably about, there's probably 40% that probably don't. I'm just throwing a number out there just from my experience. I feel like about 40% of people that I work with probably don't do so well on that. So they might have to do a non-stimulant medication, or even Dr. Howell, who's an ADHD expert as well. He's a psychiatrist, and he has ADHD himself. He doesn't take medications, and he even has stated that 20% of people with ADHD actually do not do well with medication, but there's still 80% that does. So maybe you could be that 20%. But again, I work with your doctor when it comes to changing medications and stuff like that. Don't take any advice. Anybody online, myself included, when it comes to medications, I don't give advice on medications because, again, that is something you have to be very careful with when it comes to dosaging, and always should work with your prescribing doctor on that. Okay. Okay. Next one here. Question from Midas99. The Wallace Research Institute offers tests to determine whether the person is undermethylated or overmethylated. What is your opinion about how methylation affects ADD and ADHD? My opinion, it's pretty hot topic as far as just methylations and medications. So my opinion about it is that I think um, depending on the severity of your ADHD. I think if you have very high severity of ADHD, I think medications can be very beneficial and can help for sure. Does everybody with ADHD need it? My opinion, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of natural ways. I'm living proof of it. There's a lot of people that I've worked with that are living proof of it that don't necessarily need the medication. But also, some people need both the medication as well as the supportive treatment. In fact, I think everybody needs the support treatment of just natural treatment and lifestyle changes because medication is not enough. And I think all of you guys could testify to this that medication is not enough for our ADHD support. We need coaching. We need a lot of strategies that we need to implement. We need routines and systems. We need to work on all our lifestyle changes, good nutrition, good exercise, keep ourselves hydrated, right? As well as good sleep, removing stressors in our life. All these things are important to be implementing on a regular basis that medications is not enough. If you just rely on just medication alone, it's not going to be enough for your ADHD health. We have to encompass all of it. And some people don't necessarily have to rely on the medications as long as they rely on and are really good and double down on all the other lifestyle changes I just mentioned, as well as coaching and other supportive methods. So that's kind of my opinion about it, that I think sometimes it can be sometimes over medicated in cases, but sometimes it's under medicated. But it depends on the person and the severity of their ADHD. I think people who don't have that severe of ADHD don't necessarily need to rely on it, but it's still pushed on them. So it just really depends on you and your severity. So I don't like to just make a blanket statement and just assume that everybody in this category, but because it's not true. Everybody does have different severity and have different needs. And that's why I don't ever have like a big statement that I think medication, no one needs medication. That absolutely is not correct. I think definitely there's lots of people that need medications, but I think at the same time, we should be implicating a lot of more supportive treatment for people who do take medication. And along with that, if they find that by doing the supportive treatment over time, which we do work with a lot of patients and clients, that they don't have to rely on the medication, which is great. A lot of people don't like taking medication because it's something you have to be dependent on, but sometimes people have to depend that on the rest of their life because of the severity of their ADHD. Okay, but really good question. Um, Next question here is from Brittany. I noticed that when I eat cleaner, less sugar, non-processed foods, my hyperactivity and talkativeness gets to a point that frustrates me. Is this normal? Interesting. So you find it when you eat less sugar and non-processed foods, you tend to be more hyperactive and talkative. That's interesting. Usually it's opposite effect. Now, the only way I can probably think depends. My follow up question to you would be, how long did you actually do it for? Because sometimes when you are changing drastically, especially even in your diet or even in your treatment, your body chemistry is changing, right? And some people don't give it enough time to make adjustments. Sometimes things can get worse before they get better. It's what we call kind of like the body's just detoxifying. It's removing things, so things can tend to get worse before they get better. So people don't give things a long enough duration of time before they could see the better effects of it. Because there's some withdrawal effects for people too, especially if they've been eating a really bad diet for a long time. They're going to have headaches. They're going to have all sorts of symptoms that they don't like, and so they'll stop, which is sad because your body's just trying to adjust its body chemistry and it's trying to detox the body, and so sometimes symptoms can be worse before it gets better. Hopefully that answers your question. Um, okay. Time waits says, "Hey Doc, first I want to thank you for your videos." Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I really appreciate them. ADHD is something I've had to deal with alone, and your videos help to remind me that I'm not alone. Oh, thank you so much for that comment. I appreciate that. It's good to hear that that you guys do find my videos helpful, even if it's just one person that it's helping. I do appreciate you guys just watching my content. It's amazing to just see how much the channel's grown. And this 2023, just you guys wait. I'm going to be doubling down. I'm going to do a lot more challenges so that you guys can see more challenges that I have with my ADHD and what I'm doing with it and how I'm experimenting and doing specific challenges to optimize my brain. So not just my ADHD health, but my overall health. So I definitely, some of my goals that I have for myself is definitely, I want to lose more weight. After getting married, having kids, running a business, and having ADHD, all these things, your weight starts to just creep up as you get older, especially being in your mid 30s. Our metabolism isn't as great. Our eating habits aren't the best. So I'm going to be focusing a lot more on my health and kind of take you guys through my journey, as well as how doing some, eventually someday, my dream is to do some cool documentary style type of videos, kind of like if you guys have ever watched Limitless from Chris Hemsworth, the actor of Thor. Great documentary on just how he challenges himself for his own health. And that's what I kind of want to start eventually doing. Obviously, that's a big production team, but eventually, slowly start implementing that in this channel where I can do a little bit more documentary style type of stuff. And maybe someday do a cool documentary on ADHD. That would be a dream of mine. Because I do like film. I do wedding videos every once in a while. I'll do like some just side project hobbies where I uh, do videography for people. Okay. Let's see here. Here's another question. Oh, I got a few more minutes. All right. So I'm going to answer a few more questions here. Just before I forget, sorry, I have to kind of cut it short, but our next one is going to be on Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which will be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that one will be a training, but also I'll do Q&A questions. So if you're new here, subscribe. Also, if you want to take advantage of booking a free discovery call with us, that's in the description below. Also, a free ADHD guide, as well as a free ADHD training. That's all in the description. If you guys have not taken advantage of that, I'll answer just one more question, and then I do got to go here. Sorry I had to kind of cut it short today. I just have an important meeting. Let me pick one that I haven't heard from. Here we go. Can ADHD symptoms aggravate with time? I'm 32. So it can be worse if your lifestyle changes are getting worse. And so therefore your ADHD symptoms can get worse. So a lot of people don't focus on their overall health, because if you don't focus on your overall health and it gets worse, it does impact our ADHD health. So yes, it most certainly can get aggravated over time and become worse if you do not focus on your overall health. And that's what I like to address, is looking at your body as a whole and your overall health aspect than just your brain, because it is more than ADHD health is more than just your brain. It's everything about your life and everything about your health. So it definitely can get worse if you're not focusing on those. But really good question. All right, I'll answer one more question. The person can wait. Well, I got one more minute. Here we go. Tina on Earth asks, "Hi Doc, for your Q&A, I'm a medical student, graduate, diagnosed post-medical school, struggling to study for steps. Were you able to get test work accommodations via neuropsych or only through meds CBT?" Really good question. I have a lot of videos on study tips I've done through medical school, but just to answer your question, I did not actually ask for accommodations. I want to try to go through medical school and college without the accommodations. Maybe I should have. Well, okay, that's not true. Not completely true, because I did ask my teachers, not in medical school, but definitely in college. I did ask them if I could take the test in their office on a different day. I asked that sometimes because sometimes the classroom was so big and just so distracting to me that I asked for that accommodation. And I found that it was really effective to be in a quiet room to myself with no distractions, because it was timed and I didn't want any distractions. So sometimes you can just ask your teacher. You don't need the official diagnosis. Sometimes if you just ask your teacher, just the challenges you have, sometimes they'll be willing to do stuff like that. So I did ask for accommodations. I did take medications at the beginning stages of college, but I had really bad effects with it, side effects from it. So I find that I'm like one of the 20% that just don't do well with the medications. So I found natural ways. So I did take a lot of supplementation, lifestyle changes that did help. So I share a lot of that within a lot of my videos, especially with going through college and medical school. So check out my videos. I don't do CBT. And so hopefully that was helpful. I do got to go. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. If you are new here, again, just subscribe. Also, you can check out the links in below, all the freebies I have, where you can book a free call with us. And until next time, I'll see you guys all on Wednesday for our next live stream. And that one's going to be an in-depth training along with live Q&A. So thank you guys. Love you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.